Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is Ben Foster.
Hello, mate.
We're going to get into it. Has Ten Hag lost control at Manchester United? That's the big headline, because I tell you what, when you've got a team that's got 6 points from 12 and you're looking up and you're seeing Spurs and Brighton and Arsenal and Man City and Liverpool moving away, and then you're being asked what I think is a genuine question about a player missing out because you didn't want to pick him, and then that player within half an hour is moaning, and then you're trying to sell Harry Maguire and he's saying, I don't want to go. Player power at Manchester United, Ben. We've been down this road before. You have been a player. What's going on? First of all, we'll talk about the bigger picture with Man United, but what's going on there? What's your reading of the game, having been in dressing rooms at the top level? Why is Jadon Sancho reacting within half an hour? I mean, he literally must have seen that and gone, let's get a statement out.
It's crazy, mate. It's absolutely crazy. If Alex Ferguson is a manager at this moment in time of Manchester United and Jadon Sancho does this, he will never see the light of day again for Man United. He'll never play for this club. He'll never be allowed in the training ground. You are done, mate.
Well,
see you later.
I've seen. I mean, this is the thing. This is the problem with modern football, and some fans who are out there saying Jadon Sancho's got every right to do it. I'm listening to the radio this morning and some ex-players going, no, I'd do the same. And I'm like, well, football's changed a lot. I remember sometimes you turn the TV on, Man United Leeds, Beckham's not even in the team. He's he's on the stands. He's not there getting a statement out. He's one of the most famous footballers in the world. I understand when players say, yeah, I'll do the same sort of thing. That's fantastic. You are allowed to do that if you really want to, but it's not going to help you. No.
Yeah, it's not going to help you. It's petulant, it's reactive, it's emotional.
It's disrespectful.
It is just basically...
Puts the club in the mud.
Exactly. It just becomes a massive storm. It just becomes a massive storm of news. So now everybody wants to know, what is up with Jadon Sancho? What is up with Ten Hag? Has Ten Hag lost the dressing room? What were Jadon Sancho's training sessions like this week? Because Jadon Sancho says it's nothing to do with his training. He says he's applied himself very well in training. That's fantastic. You should be applying yourself very well. That's the minimum, honestly.
But it also doesn't matter what Ben Foster says or Jadon Sancho says, I've had a good week in training. It's what the bloody manager's paid for.
Exactly that. Like say, just putting the work in and just being at training and doing what you should do and applying yourself in training is the minimum, mate, right? It's then down to your skill level and your technical ability and the influence that you have over the players and the games and the mini games and the passing, and that's what it's all about. So if he's watching that and going, he's just not off it, he's not as sharp as he used to be, and that's fine. You don't hold any grudges about people when they're like that. You can just tell that they're not quite on it at this moment in time. So you're not going to be in the matchday squad, but keep going. You're getting a bit. That's what it would have been, right? So for him to leave him out of the squad, they're going to ask him a question. Where is Jadon Sancho? It's an honest question.
Can he answer it?
Why wouldn't you answer it rightly as well? But I would be, if I was a manager, right, I would answer these questions exactly how they're supposed to be answered. So if somebody says, why isn't he in the matchday squad? It could be anything. It could be he missed the team meeting yesterday, and I have a big thing that if they miss a team meeting, then you're out, and he'll learn from it. Though it's fine.
Rashford got dropped last year.
He'll learn from it. It's fine. It's not a problem. If he's not been very good in training, I'll say I can just see he's maybe off it a little bit in training this week. That's the reason why I'm not playing him in the game on Saturday afternoon. Be honest with it. I don't see why you would need to cover your back, yeah? So I don't blame Ten Hag one little bit for coming out and saying it. I don't blame him one little bit, as long as that's the truth, which I think it probably is, because he seems to me like he's an honest, open guy, isn't he? He'll tell you the truth.
Well, I think he will sometimes, like with Ronaldo, he'll go, everything's fine, but it's not behind the scenes. But maybe Ronaldo was happy with that.
Yeah.
But if you've got a guy within half an hour putting a public statement out. Imagine if Ten Hag had said he's ill. He'd have gone, I'm not ill. I was fit. He's got to tell the truth in that situation.
I think going forward, though, this for Jadon Sancho is a massive problem. Is a massive problem, mate. You can't go doing this kind of stuff. Other managers see this, other clubs see this. So you think if Manchester United want to get rid of Jadon Sancho now, how much are you going to ask for Jadon Sancho?
Well, they wanted to get rid of him in the summer. That's
say it comes to the January transfer window. How much are you going to sell him for? How much realistically would Man United fans be happy for? No, it can't be any less than 25, 30 mil, can it? Yeah, 25, 30 mil you're going to want for him, right? But is any other club, any other manager going to be happy paying 25, 30 million quid when you've got a player that can petulantly just react and get emotional and do stuff like this straight away after matches? Of course they're not. They don't want that problem either. They want somebody that they know that they're signing for 30 million quid that, one, is a very good player, but two, is just going to get his head down and work hard. That's all you want from players.
There was problems at Dortmund. And now there's problems at Manchester United. And sometimes you've got to look at the individual. Ten Hag didn't pay 75 million quid for him. Yeah. Ten Hag didn't put him on 300 grand a week. Ten Hag wanted to sell him in the summer. If this was Pep Guardiola's Man City, he wouldn't be here.
No
He'd be
chance.
gone. This is a weakness
long gone.
of the way the club is run.
Oh, he'd be long
and
gone.
player power.
But do you know what it is as well, though? Again, it is a weakness from the club. It's a massive weakness from the club because, by the sounds of it, he's one of these kind of like... I wouldn't say he's a bad egg. He's going to be a good lad. But when you've got enough of these sort of players that have got this in them, this petulance in them to go and do that, this breeds through the team, you know. Other people see that. You have young players coming up seeing that, thinking he's ahead of me in the pecking order, and he's acting like this, yet he's still ahead of me in the pecking order. Like, what's the point? What's the point in doing this? But I guarantee Man City have got none of them, you know.
No.
It's
a mentality thing.
Right, think of a similar sort of player at Man City that would do a similar sort of thing. I'm not going to say Phil Foden. Phil Foden's miles ahead of Jadon.
Well, Grealish and Sancho are in the same position.
Anything
and
like
Grealish
that
is a party boy. Does Grealish do that?
If any of these players at Man City did this, would you expect them to ever play for Man City ever again? No chance.
And if there's one player at City you think would do it, be Jack Grealish, because he likes a pint and this, that and the other. Does Grealish ever think about putting a statement out about Pep Guardiola? Because he knows... I'm off.
Yes,
I'm gone. You don't do
doubt.
it. And that's the problem. It's about discipline. That's what I was going to ask you about. Because, look, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and nobody's saying that Jadon Sancho's a bad lad. But what we are saying is that there's a bad attitude in that football club. And any footballer, that statement has got... It's so fast. It's bad people around players, and it's bad attitude from the player because you think you're bigger than Man United, mate. You're basically putting... If you slept on it, and woke up the next day and went, right, OK, there's a way to deal with this. Even if I want to leave United, I've got to be about being a professional. Like you said, he's exposed himself as somebody that will undermine the manager publicly for their own brand. And your brand's in the mud, mate, because you're not playing football.
If you're getting a 2-week wage for it as well.
I hope he does.
He'll get a 2-week wage fine for it as well, guaranteed. These sort of things, like he'll have gone to bed last night seeing that this was going to be a big thing, and he knows this morning that when he goes into training, the first person he's going to have to see is the manager. He is going to have to go into that manager's office, and that manager is going to say, "What are you doing?"
What happens here, though, in the bigger picture? United have lost their first 2 games. I've always said that I don't really think that the British media wanted Ten Hag. They wanted Pochettino. They'll be waiting with their knives sharpened. That's how it happens. There's also players in that dressing room that we don't need to name, but we know that they are there, who, you know, destroyed Ranić, destroyed Ollie, destroyed Mourinho, some of them. They will be looking to do this. Player power at Man United. Ten Hag's in a really difficult position. You look at Donny van der Beek, you look at Scott McTominay, you look at Harry Maguire, all players that should have been sold that didn't leave, and probably because they could dig their heels in. Shouldn't be happening. You've now got Jadon Sancho publicly doing that. If Ten Hag picks Sancho, I'm sure he will do over the next month or so, these players know that they can win.
Do you know what I think? Sorry, I've just thought of something. This is the problem at Man United. So the players that you've just mentioned there, right? Even you put Harry Maguire into there if you want to. The type of clubs that these players are going to be signing for after leaving Manchester United. So you've got Manchester United, who, they're not as big as the other football clubs in terms of on the pitch stuff, but as a brand, right? Manchester United offers so much more lucrativity, so much more sort of for these players' brands. Being attached to Manchester United is massive for them. The amount of bonuses, the amount of things in their contract will say that if you have to be playing for one of the top 16,
even if they're not good on the pitch, aren't they?
But then the teams that these players are going to be signing for, you're talking the likes of, like, I think Maguire's getting linked with West Ham. McTominay's sort of similar, West Ham, Rangers, maybe Everton. These sort of
Donny
teams.
van der Beek,
Donny van der
Lorient.
Beek. Exactly, Whereas Man City players, right, if they're leaving Man City, they're going to
an Arsenal.
They're going to a big boy. They're going to big boys, right?
Yeah.
So that that tells you that the recruitment in the first place is miles off it. The players that Manchester United signing for the same sort of money that Man City are signing,
or more sometimes,
are miles off it. Absolutely miles off it. Like 76 million for Jadon Sancho. Where would Jadon Sancho realistically go? What sort of club would sign Jadon Sancho? Honestly, have a think about it. Would Newcastle sign him?
No.
No. Would Arsenal?
No.
Any of the big boys? Liverpool? No, of course they wouldn't.
So where's he going to go? Spurs might have gone.
Spurs might have.
Probably not now.
Yeah, Villa might have. Yeah, might sign him. But that's what you're talking about, yeah? So you've got all these players that are going, I ain't leaving Man United. What, and go and play for a team that I'm going to have to battle for week in, week out? I don't want that. I'm getting paid absolute shed loads of money here, having a nice time. I'm not playing, but you know what? It's quite comfy not playing. Mate, they're in a bad state, honestly.
It's a good point, because there's an algorithm, really, isn't there, for success? You look at Man City, better players, better mentality, no voice. There's only one boss, and it's Pep Guardiola. Man United, worse players, bigger voice.
Voices all over the shop, mate.
So give player power to shit players, and then good players don't give them any power. And look who's successful. I remember speaking to Paul Ince, and it was probably the same with you. I was talking about it a couple of years ago when there was mutiny, I think, with Solskjaer. And I said to him, in your time at United, with all the great players that were there, the Keanes, the Robsons, the Cantonars, the Bruces, would anyone go behind the manager's back and speak to the CEO? Absolutely not. You'd be one. The CEO would tell Sir Alex.
Oh my God.
Two, you'd be gone.
Mate,
and he says, but it's happening now.
The CEO would stand up the second the player said something, right, in that meeting. He'd go, wait there, and he'd walk out. He'd go get Sir Alex, and he'd bring him in. He'd go, what were you saying?
Yeah.
It would be carnage, mate. You would not have a leg to stand on. I absolutely promise. But even the game on Saturday, so Arsenal, on Sunday. I'm looking at the team lineup, and I see Martial starting up top. I see Anthony on the wing, and I'm thinking, don't fancy this. I do.
But that's just on that. There's a lot of people saying, well, you know, I understand Sancho because Martial and Anthony shouldn't play. Well, I disagree with that because the manager picks the team. And I think anybody who's trying to defend Sancho because you think he's better than Martial and Anthony, it's a pointless argument because the manager picks the team. And if you haven't got... You can think that Sancho should play ahead of Anthony and Martial, but the manager picks the team. And the player cannot then go and put a public statement.
To play on a Saturday afternoon, right, you either have to have a bit of credit in the bank where you've done it week in, week out already, so the manager knows what he's going to get from it. Like I say, towards the end of my career, I would not be training sort of like Tuesday, Wednesday or whatever, because I'd have to look after my body. But I had credit in the bank because he knew that last Saturday, I was a 7 out of 10. The Saturday before that, I was a 7. And I've done it throughout my career for years and years.
The last Saturday, you let in 7?
Yeah, apart from that, yeah. But that...
You don't even ever let 7? Oh, you have?
Definitely, yeah.
Watford.
The manager knew what he was going to get from me. That's absolutely fine. The other reason why you get into a starting team on a Saturday afternoon, into that starting 11, is by being unbelievable in training, like so sharp to the point where everybody's going, he's so sharp at the minute, he's so sharp. Have you seen him? He's so sharp at the minute, right? The manager sees this stuff, right? The manager knows everything about it. So, one, Jadon Sancho's got no credit in the bank because he hasn't been playing. And two, he's looked at his performance in the training and gone, well, you're miles off it still anyway. At least Martial or at least Anthony have been doing a bit in training on a Wednesday, Thursday afternoon.
Or three, it's not a democracy. I just don't really rate you.
Simple as that.
I mean, bloody Southgate's picking people who don't even play football. So, you know, I don't think what Ten Hag's doing bad. You mentioned Arsenal. I don't really want to get into it massively because the game's been lost. I've seen a lot of excuses. The reality is when you're playing Johnny Evans and Maguire at the back, you might concede a couple of goals late on. But in general, I don't think it's been a great start to the season for United. They don't look like they're playing particularly well. The system doesn't look right. Is this because it's going to click a little bit later? Or do you think that potentially, what do you think about United now after 4 games? Because is top 4 going to be a cruise? Is it going to be, a step off?
No,
Could things get worse? Brighton are coming up.
I think it'll just carry on much of the muchness. It really can. We said before the Arsenal game last week, me and you, and I said if I had to predict it, I couldn't tell you. I said I don't know what Man United team is going to turn up. Arsenal, you've got a sort of idea. Arsenal seem to know what they're doing. You seem to know what they're doing. Man United, I haven't got a clue what they're going to do. They could turn up and batter them. They've got Brighton next week. Anything could happen in that game. It's the same thing. Anything could happen. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a 4-0 Brighton win. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a 4-0 Man United win. They've got the ability, they've got the quality, they've got the players, but they're not connected. They're not connected. So I think this season is yet again going to be very similar to last season where win 1, lose 1, draw 1, win 1, draw 1. That's how it'll go.
I personally think I liked Højlund. I think Amrabat will be good. The same as Martinez, the same as Casemiro. I think the shame for United this season is that last season you saw an improvement with players that Ten Hag brought in.
Yeah.
This season, I think he's having to rely on players that he didn't want to be here, whether it is Jadon Sancho, Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, Donny van der Beek. He's having to rely on those players, and I think this season will depend on how quickly Højlund and Amrabat adapt, how quickly Mount and Varane and Luke Shaw come back, because he's relying on players that he doesn't want to be here.
I think Højlund's big. I agree with you. I think Højlund's big. I like the look of him when he came on.
Really
big, looks strong, really aggressive. He likes to shut down. He likes to press. Again, once I saw that starting lineup, I saw Martial at the top. I just thought, oh no! Like I know for a fact, Ten Hag will want to press. He will want to start from the front. Martial isn't that guy. He is not that guy who's going to do that for you. So I was worried from the get-go. But yeah, I was impressed with Højlund when he first came on. I'd say just his stature. He looks like he's fast as well. By the way, big, strong lad.
They need a sale. Man United need a sale. I was talking to Tom about this off air, and he said that there's a couple of clubs in the Premier League that just look rotten, Man United and Chelsea, and I think he's right. I think Man United, I honestly have said this for so long, they need to break it down and start again. And I'm talking fitness, coaching, board, everything. Just the whole mentality is wrong. When you've got, and it's not the first, Harry Maguire had the captaincy took off him. Within an hour, he's doing a statement online.
Yeah.
There's too much player power for players that aren't good enough for Man United. And it needs tearing down. I said, chuck Roy Keane back in that dressing room, not as a coach, just to give him.
Do you know what? I'd put Roy Keane higher up, much higher up. I'd have him as one of those big boys. You know,
just need a kick
like you say that when you said earlier about would Jadon Sancho ever go behind the manager's back, and would any of the old school players go behind the manager's back? And no, they wouldn't, because they'd be petrified of it getting back to the manager. If you've got a Roy Keane up there and they go in to sit in his office and go, Roy, the manager isn't picking me, and he'd go, wait a second, and Roy would go and get the fucking manager, and the manager would come in and sit next to him and go, carry on. It'd never happen. You need somebody up there with balls, is what you need.
And people say that sort of thing's dead. Well, why is Pep Guardiola? Arteta, even at Arsenal, got rid of Aubameyang, got rid of Ozil.
Yes.
You know, it's such a rotten football club, and it allows people to do rotten things. Anyway, Ben, legend. Enjoy your international break.
I will do, mate. You too. I won't enjoy it. It's miserable. I hate the international break. It's just pointless. 4 games into the season. Come on.
I know. Thanks for watching. Get your comments in below. Smash a like. I'll speak to you soon.